The energetic of instant magnetism is what is the fear that's right in front of me that I can take action to walk past. The greater the fear, the more magnetism it'll produce instantly. That's going to be the thing that helps you navigate it the quickest. From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacy Phillips. As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. Part of our manifestation process entails expanding past your limiting subconscious beliefs. Therefore, by tuning into this podcast with interviews from experts, thought leaders, spiritual teachers, scientists, and those with neural manifestation success stories, you're starting the process of expanding your subconscious in order to see to believe that anything you desire is possible. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. Jessica here. We are in week 2 of the Manifestation Challenge. People are connecting with their authenticity. They are expanding and finding expansion and that aha moment of expansion. And next week, we are going into unblocking. It has been such a powerful challenge thus far. Members who have been with us for a while are starting to see some major manifestations come through, like their dream job or offers to do a manuscript that they've been wanting to do forever. Other people who are just joining us for the first time are starting to see some minis come through. So my friends that I talked about last week that I held their hand through signing up and doing the process caught up over the weekend and are following along every single morning. And one of the things that my friend had on her manifestation list was that she wanted her car detailed before leaving for break because her authenticity really loves a clean and orderly space. And being in her car with all of the dog fur everywhere just wasn't in alignment. So she threw it on her list and she almost immediately got a couple of little tests where there was a detailing service there, but she really didn't have enough time because she was running around before leaving for the holidays. That was on the other side of town, really expensive. And then she got her first expander and she saw a car detailing service that was coming to people's homes and neighborhoods and areas and would do it right there. But the area that they were in was not really close to her neighborhood and she didn't have time at that moment either. Later that day, she got the ping to take her dog for a walk, and right when she came outside, she saw the exact detailing car company in front of her building, and they said they could squeeze her in the next hour if she brought her car out. Perfect timing, perfect alignment, and just so kismet. And thinking about the minis, they are the ones that are going to bolster your trust muscle. They might have a little test. They might have a little expansion. They're all about following pings and our intuition, which you guys will learn more about during the challenge. And they are helping you see to believe that manifesting and having this co-creation dance with the universe is so possible. So congratulations to my friend who manifested her clean car before holiday break. And don't forget, it is not too late to join. You can join the Manifestation Challenge by signing up for the Pathway, where you'll get all access to all of our manifestation courses. And we have our biggest sale of the year going on right now. It is going on until December 31st at midnight. So be sure to lock in your lowest rate of the season. We're not going to have another sale for a while, so this is the time to join. And the Manifestation Challenge will be open inside of the Pathway until March. So even if you want to join January 1st, or if you want to catch up over the holidays, you have time to do so. Just check in on the podcast that aired during that time. Check out our highlights on TBM. Check out the highlights on my Instagram. And that will help you guys stay motivated to continue the challenge alongside. And don't forget, with our new TBM app, you can download the videos, the lessons, the DIs, so you can take it offline and on the go. So if you have a flight, you're going somewhere remote, somewhere with low Wi-Fi, you can take your work with you and continue to stay accountable to this practice. And if you guys are traveling somewhere fun and doing the TBM work, tag us. We'd love to see where you guys are at all over the world. It's so exciting and motivating, especially for anyone calling in travel. Today's episode, we wanted to bring you the 12 gifts of manifestation. We are going to share our most helpful, heavy-hitting tips that we have found over the last year. So you'll get tips from Lacy, Janelle, Dr. Tara, the TBM coaches, Amanda, Salwa, Heather, and myself. We hope all these tips will help you stay motivated and excited and keep you going with your practice through the holiday season. And stay tuned for the end, and I will give a little manifestation tip for everyone who is going through the challenge with us.
And now, a word from our partners. Lacy here, quickly interrupting the episode to talk about Bond Charge, formerly Blue Blocks. So I want to start today by saying that I really do actually think that I manifested this particular product, which is the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. A few months ago, Bond Charge released this, and it was literally a manifestation and answer to my prayer for a couple of reasons. One, you can go in completely naked. Two, it has the lowest EMF on the market, which is a big, big, big thing for me. Three, their lights are lab grade IR light power, which means that they have one of the highest therapeutic infrared lining in their sauna blanket. So I got it, tried it once, have used it every single day since. It takes literally under 2 minutes to warm up to the temperature that I want to use, whereas every infrared sauna I've had, of course, they're large devices. They take anywhere, depending on what the outside weather is, from 30 minutes to an hour to warm up. Needless to say, I have completely canceled the order to the infrared sauna that I was purchasing and waiting for in January. There's no point because once I've done the sauna blanket, I can't go back to that. I can't go back to waiting for it to warm up. And one of my pet peeves, even though this one was going to be larger that I ordered, is that I can't just lie down totally comfortably. So in the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket, I lay it right down on my mattress. I plop my pillow sort of inside of it, lying in my bed, so comfortable, looking out my window, just seeing oak trees in the mountains, and letting my nervous system completely calm down, which happens instantly in this. You can feel it. My whole nervous system grounds. That's a huge benefit of infrared saunas, and I think it's much quicker in a sauna blanket. It's the ultimate hack. And I was going to pay $8,000 for a sauna. This is $999. I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you, universe. I manifested my perfect biohacking device. It packs up in its tiny little bag, and I can take it from Topanga up to the forest house with me. It takes up such little space. It's just genius. So if somebody's looking for all of that inside of a package, it's definitely the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. If you are new to Bond Charge, use the code all caps magnetic, MAGNETIC, to receive 15% off your purchase. Again, that's all caps MAGNETIC to receive 15% off any purchase. Seed Probiotic, who we have partnered with now for about a year and love and are obsessed with, and we think it's obviously the best probiotic on the market, has finally come out with Pediatric Daily Symbiotic, which is for children ages 3 to 17, and it has 9 probiotic strains and a fiber-based prebiotic. The beautiful thing is there's no refrigeration necessary. So for someone like us who's on the go and about our land, no refrigeration necessary is really, really appealing, especially in the form of a children's probiotic. And for those of you who have really, really, really sensitive children, it's really beautiful because it's free from 14 classes of allergens and additives, which we know are really rampant now. So it's completely sugar-free, soy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, and sesame-free. And if anybody has a picky eater or a texture picky kid, it's really cool because you actually just tear open their extremely sustainable packaging, and you can add it to any smoothie, any drink, yogurt, whatever you're going to be feeding them, and mix it right in. And the beautiful thing is it's part of the entire system, like all of Seed Probiotic. where it's completely engineered to survive. So one of the only probiotics out there that is scientifically proven to make it all the way to the targeted area in your gut. And last but not least, there are 5 grams of prebiotic fiber per serving. So for myself, who is gearing up to start weaning soon in preparation for the next pregnancy, I'm sitting here wondering where the probiotics are going to come from for Teddy. You know, my milk is obviously so rich in probiotics, but this is the beautiful, beautiful next step as we enter the world of health, digestion, and longevity.
Use the code TBM20 to receive 20% off your first month of Seed's Daily Symbiotic. You can check the link in the show note or go to seed.com/TBM.
All right, on to the episode.
Gift number 1 or tip number 1 is actually from me, and it is about why it is so important to actually commit to this work and how committing to this work is going to transform your process, especially in the moments when it is really hard to show up because you have that why as your North Star. Actually commit to your manifestation work. So many times I see people that want to manifest things, they want to achieve big goals, they want to actualize their dreams, they want to take the step forwards, but they are not actually making progress because they are truly not showing up. And what I mean by truly showing up is looking at the ways in which you are still playing small. I know it can be really hard when starting this work and you're looking at your life and you're thinking, this doesn't align, this doesn't align. I don't want it to be because of me or my fault. I don't want to see that I had any part in the reason I don't have my dreams right now. But the sooner that we can see that not only are we playing a part, but we're playing a part in not having our dreams right now because of a wounded inner child or a wounded, unintegrated part of our shadow. And the sooner that we can look at those parts, heal those parts, process with those parts, the sooner we can start to actualize our dreams into reality. So when we are committing to the work, we're choosing the one or a few very specific manifestations we have in mind. We are diligently going through the expanding, unblocking, and aligned action process in relation to this specific manifestation so we can connect with it on the other side. Things cannot change unless we change. And though it is so scary to think about looking at these hardships and processing these big emotions and even navigating some of these blocks, what is scarier is the fact that the potential to achieve our dreams has been there all along and we were too afraid to look at it. The feelings might feel so scary to dive in, but let this be your sign or your message. You are so worth it, and you deserve to have a life that you desire and that reflects your authenticity and makes you feel good inside. You can have that now. You can start that process right now. So my number 1 tip for anyone out there is to really actually commit to not be afraid to look at your shadows and your fears and your limiting beliefs, because you are so strong and able to handle it. And the thing that I always come back to, if you knew that you could have what you wanted in 6 to 12 months, if you knew that one big thing that just sits in the back of your mind and you daydream about all the time could be connected with you in 6 to 12 months, why not start now? Tip 2 is from TBM coach Heather Whitaker. Sweet Heather was so sick this week and still recorded this fantastic tip for us. So thank you, Heather, for fighting through and sharing your wisdom with us. Her tip is all about focusing on the feeling of the manifestation so the fear of not getting every detail correct will dissipate.
Hi, TBM community. This is Coach Heather. I'm here to talk about my favorite tips in manifestation, and it's all around crafting your list. Everyone gets really nervous about, oh my goodness, what am I going to write on there? If I write it, it has to be exactly what I want, or it has to be perfect, or I'm afraid to put something down on paper because what if I'm not ready for it? Please take all of that out of your mind. The list is meant to be fun. The list is meant for you to look to see, what do I feel deserving of? What do I want? And I think the best part around the list, sometimes it's going to change. What you originally wanted on your list could change, whether it's at the end of this challenge or in a month or even in 6 months. Don't worry about that right now. Right now, I like to create lists by categories. So whether that's a category meaning a relationship, a category around a career, a category around a home, a category around a car, or not necessarily tangible items, but feelings or changing the way that you feel about yourself or somebody else. So get clear on a category. From there, get super specific. I'm talking like very, very specific. Let's just use house because that's an easy example. So in your house or apartment, whatever a home means to you at this time, get very specific down to how many bedrooms and how well lit is it and the size of the backyard, the walk score, down to how many bathrooms and is there a vanity versus a pedal sink. Really get details. Next, what is your why? Why do you want each one of these items? How will they make you feel? What is it about having a well-lit home? How is it going to make you feel? How will having a good walk score make you feel? How will having a bathtub versus a shower make you feel? What is your why and how do you want to feel? Lastly, I like to align it to my authentic code just to make sure that I'm not coming in from ego or a false sense of self-worth or even lack mentality. But I give you these 3 categories under each overarching theme of what you want, because at the end of the day, the specifics become basically less important, and it's all about the feeling. Myself, as well as my clients, find that if they focus on the feeling of the item that they want, that is what the manifestation is. I have so many people who tell me, I'm so afraid to settle because it doesn't have everything on my list. I'm like, well, if we go back to your list and think about how you feel, is it everything that you wanted and how you feel? Well, yes, it is, but it doesn't have X. But does it give you the same feeling? Well, yes. Okay, then that is your manifestation. So really, this is a long, drawn-out way to say, focus on how you want to feel, how something's going to make you feel. That is where I find myself and everybody else. The manifestation comes in sooner because there's less fear of making a mistake, less fear of settling, because it's all about how you feel. Happy manifesting.
Tip 3 is from our TBM coach, Salwa, and it is all around not overstaying your expansion and knowing when you've been expanded enough.
Today, I want to discuss where we have been expanded and if you have overstayed that welcome. An energy that comes up with many of my clients is the fear of moving forward once they have reached a certain level of expansion. It can be really easy to hang on to expansion as an excuse to play small rather than recognizing that we have received enough evidence and that we are ready for more. Right now, I want you to think about what you are calling in and how have you been expanded thus far. For example, maybe you're calling in a partner and you've called in at this point really expansive dating situations where you finally see how lovingly you can be treated or what it feels like for someone to really see you. However, this person is not ready to fully commit when you are. In this case, you have been expanded, past tense. I notice that people tend to want to grasp onto this expansion because they don't think something else will come through. But when we decide that we are ready for the next step and take that action, that is the energy of an up level. You do not need to wait for life to rock bottom you out of something you are actually ready for. I think it is vital to notice when we are still trying to milk expansion out of a situation that has nothing left to give us. So ask yourself, how have I been expanded? And can I trust that I am expanded enough for the next step? You might still be scared, and that's okay, but answer this question truthfully. The reason we unblock and expand is so we can move through our fears and take that aligned action. So again, what are you calling in right now? How have you been expanded? The point of expansion is that we have proof that something is possible. So what are you choosing to do with this new level of information, with all of this expansion? What is going to be your next step? Do you need to let go of a relationship? Do you need to draw a boundary with a friend? Do you need to prioritize your business and finally declare that you are ready to be seen? Regardless of what you are calling in, I want you to check in and ask yourself, have I overstayed my expansion? Am I now in settling territory? What can I do, big or small, to up-level into my next chapter? Thanks, everyone.
Tip 4 is from Lacy, and it's all about the power of saying no. When we can communicate that something is not in alignment with us, it gives us so much magnetism.
One thing, I used to always get this on podcasts. They were like, what's one tool somebody can do right now today to manifest? And I was like, start using the word no. Because in fact, when we, what I call past tests, we no longer settle in the ways that we used to in the past. And we actually advocate for our worthiness and deservingness of what we want. And we start to exercise that word more. So turn down the emotional unavailable suitor who's coming through when we just have been like a fuck buddy for so long, or we left the job that was so toxic and now we're out interviewing for new jobs and we can kind of tell that that opportunity can be toxic. Being able to say no, even though there's stakes on the line, you know, with that potential new partner, it's like, but what if it is the one? And maybe this thing will be different. No, it won't. You're being tested. Or with the job, it's like, but I really need the money. So maybe I can make this one work. And it's like, yeah, you can, but you're being tested and you actually could have what you really want. And so all of the work we do centers around finding your blocks of why, the root of why, and changing them, that you're not able to connect with the thing you want, looking to see if you're expanded enough in your subconscious for it. And if not, you need to find your expanders and surround yourself around expanders. And then, of course, the third most important, and well, no, they're all equally as important component. Because if you see someone just going out saying no, but they don't have the self-worth subconsciously or the space for it, they won't get anything. So it's those three components that are super important. All three have to be in play at once to manifest.
Tip 5 is from our licensed marriage and family therapist, Janelle Nelson, and is all around utilizing the safety eye and resourcing tools to calm your nervous system before going into any of the reprogramming or trauma work that helps us connect with our manifestations.
If you're so panicked going into a DI, it's going to be really hard to do any trauma resolution. Some people are going to need to stay in the safe, the new deep imagining called safe. They might need to hang out there for a while or do a lot of prep work. If they know that they're going to do, work on some trauma, I would do the safe one before just to make sure. Am I regulated? Am I present? Am I here? Once that's online, you can do some really good trauma work. Honor your emotional boundaries. I've been here before. I'm like, where I'm so eager to have a manifestation come through that I just want to run in and rip it off like a Band-Aid. But the essence of TBM is real self-worth, true, deep self-worth. And true self-worth doesn't run over our emotional boundaries. It deeply respects our emotional boundaries and our trauma. And deep self-worth is just so carefully, so lovingly holds our trauma work. And I think in that, ironically enough, our manifestation might come through by moving through it slowly and not just making sure it's done, because it communicates that deep self-worth. So don't be afraid to bounce back and hang out and do some of the SC work and the safety eye. And if you need to hang out there for weeks, if that's what self-love and self-worth is, just go with that. When you go back to the safety eye, it will bring you back to present. Anytime you are tender, anytime you're raw, that will bring you back to the present, and then you can keep going. If you're feeling good, then I'd say move on and do the DI. That's when you can do before any big one, or if you do feel too triggered, I'd go back to the safe DI. It's meant to bring you back. It's meant to bring you back from any sort of disassociation and feel calm and grounded in your body, and it does.
Tip 6 is from me again, and it's why it's so important to unblock and feel in order to heal. So as you know, in this manifestation work, we need to be expanding, unblocking, and taking aligned action simultaneously in order to connect with our manifestations. Everything is rooted back to our subconscious. So our subconscious beliefs is what's calling in our manifestations. And when we have big emotional reactions, they are the perfect roadmap to figuring out what is going on in your subconscious and what may still need healing. Now, this does not mean we are going to get rid of our feelings. We're never going to have feelings again. When we're healed, we're not going to feel any negative emotions. Part of being human is processing the spectrum of emotions. But the goal with this work and any sort of healing work is that when those emotions arise, we know how to process them through, understand if there's any roots to the past, recontextualize them so we still feel worthy, good enough, safe in the moment, and we are able to self-soothe ourselves so we can take our power back and not rely on anyone else to soothe or provide for us, which is what we needed in childhood, which is often what created a lot of that wounding. So when you have a trigger or big test pop up, an emotional reaction, you're irritated by a coworker, you are mad that your flight got canceled on a certain timeline, feel the emotion, process the anger, the sadness, the discouragement, the disgust, anything that is coming up. Allow yourself to have a real human moment of, yeah, that sucked and I'm still okay. That sucked and I'm safe. When we bypass that sucked and I'm sad and really sit with that emotion, that's when the spiritual bypass comes in and we try to super speed right into the I'm okay, but it ingrains in our subconscious that we still don't feel completely safe because that emotion hasn't had time to work its way through our nervous system and through our bodies. So when we're doing the unblocking work, you have a test or trigger come up, you feel an emotional reaction, I always recommend going into the DIs, maybe journaling first to get to the root. Does it have any ties to memories, themes, dynamics in childhood? Heal it both from the present tense moment that felt not good and heal it from the childhood moment that felt not good. Then you can start to lay the neural pathway of a new belief system where you do feel safe in the present moment. Remember, reprogramming takes emotional intensity and repetition. So we are going to constantly be going back and feeling and processing all of our emotions. It is not a one and done thing. You want to keep coming back here, supporting yourself, showing yourself that you are resilient to process your emotions, showing yourself that you care about yourself enough to go in and process those emotions, even when they're difficult, even when they're hard, and knowing that you're going to be okay to just feel your feelings. And when we can feel and process those emotions, especially that our inner child felt at one time around a certain dynamic, that is where so much magic happens in this manifestation work, because then you are not limited by the fears and the limitations that your inner child experienced. You can now recontextualize them and project out self-confidence, strength, and self-worth that is already within you. Happy manifesting.
So I'm quickly interrupting this episode to invite you, if you're ready to start your manifestation journey, or if anything you've heard in our manifestation episodes has piqued your interest to begin. We have a la carte workshops in everything from the basics bundle, which is what we recommend to everyone who starts. It's the formula that actually teaches you how to manifest, unblocked inner child, and unblocked shadow. We also have a la carte workshops on love and money. But the real gem is the Pathway membership because it encompasses every single workshop we have. It's a year-long membership with full access to the few a la carte offerings we have and exclusive workshops not available anywhere else, such as the daily practice, which is what everybody in the pathway uses, hopefully at least 3 times a week to daily, in order to truly create the new neural pathways that one needs in order to manifest, and houses the library of our deep imaginings, which is our unique hypnosis process that allows you to get into your subconscious and overwrite those old neural pathways, creating the new ones.
And we have our biggest holiday sale going on right now until the end of the year, where you can lock in the lowest rate of the season. When you join the pathway, you will also have access to our manifestation challenge, which we will walk you through step by step of this process on how to manifest the exact item of your dreams. You can check the link in the show notes to spin the spinner and lock in your lowest rate.
Okay, now back to the episode.
Tip 7 is from TBM coach Amanda Blair, and why we don't need to fear failing a test. What the beauty of, quote, failing or taking a learning, as Amanda calls it, in a test is going to be so instrumental for our next steps in our own manifestation process.
Hey, Magnetic Community, it's Amanda Blair here, one of TBM's coaches, and I have a manifestation tip that I would love to share with you. And it is that tests are not testing your worth, ever. They are just information. I hear clients being worried about tests, anxiety about tests, fearing tests, and getting really sort of frustrated and annoyed that tests keep coming in. They feel really personally attacked by the tests. And this is because they are associating the test saying you're not worthy or you are, depending on how they respond to that test. But the test is just giving you information on where you feel in your full worth for something or where you don't. It is never telling you that you are not worthy. If you take a learning, which is what I like to call, in quotes, failing a test, I like to say taking a learning because that to me is what is actually happening. You are needing that lesson, and that lesson is going to help you move forward, not only in your growth journey, but as that manifestation comes in that you're looking to call in. You need that lesson. That is what we are here to do. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. So when we are taking a learning that is valuable, we are not doing that because we aren't worthy or we have to prove our worth or we're going to be punished or we're going to lose all magnetism. We are never going to be punished. It's just giving us information on where we are at. And if we already have that lesson, then we are able to take that lesson and move on, aka pass the test. So it is just giving us information on things we need to learn and things we have already learned. So if you find yourself feeling really anxious about tests or getting really aggravated by them, check in. Are you thinking that it's testing your worth? Or are you in that place of truth knowing that it's just giving you information? Because if it's in that place of just giving you information, tests can be celebrated and feel harmless in that they are not making you question everything about yourself. So that's my first tip. My second tip, which applies to this, is our worth is never on the table because our worth is inherent and we have the maximum amount of worth. Always have, always will. And when we say step into your worth, we are not saying that you are creating that because you can't. Nothing you do adds to your worth and nothing you do subtracts from your worth because your worth is inherent and you always have that maximum amount. So when we say step in, we are saying understanding that full sense of worth, recognizing the truth of I have always been worthy and will always be worthy of existing, of love, of my desires, of feeling the way that I want to feel. That has been and always will be true. So your worth is never on the table. because your worth is inherent and you have the maximum amount right now, and you always will.
Tip 8 is from Lacy, and it's all about stepping through fear and doing the opposite of what we have done in the past in order to connect with our manifestations and create magnetism.
So in the equation, we always talk about in manifestation that manifestation is actually incredibly simple theoretically. You have to have 3 things in motion. You have to be unblocked enough. And then the second piece is that you have to be expanded enough. And the third step is self-worth, deservingness, action. The energetic of instant magnetism is, what is the fear that's right in front of me that I can take action to walk past? And then based on how much I fear it, so the greater the fear, the more magnetism it'll produce instantly. I talk a lot about, like, when you're going through a rock bottom, you're usually faced with situations that are trying to get a reaction out of you, seeing if you'll act in the same low self-worth patterning that you have in the past, and actually looking to your grace expanders and inhabiting them and staying in your grace. It's looking at, where am I most afraid and what is my biggest pain point right now? And how do I do the opposite than I have in the past? So if that's lack, what can I do in this moment that's abundance? And not fake spiritual bypass abundance of like running up debt and stuff if it's, say, money related. But like, this is something I used to practice with clients. When they felt the most strapped, I had them do a couple of techniques that it was all based on energetics. It had nothing to do with superstitious manifestation practices, but I would have them start to hand out money, even if it's $1 to the homeless guy on the street, needing that energy to flow because you're not used to doing. Where can you step up in the past where you've been fearful? What fear can you walk through that is in accordance with deservingness? That's going to be the thing that helps you navigate it the quickest. So when things do happen in our life that are triggers, that's what we'll call them throughout the day, or they activate us, if we can go, how did I manifest this? Why is this showing up? And then go do the daily practice around it, you will super speed results. But with that said, you also have to take action and you have to expand. So if you really, really, really want to speed up the unblocking piece, please keep a note in your phone or your notebook or your journal of daily stuff that came up for you, that hit you, and do the work on it. Watch how quickly you unblock in your life that piece and how fast you start to see results. I would guarantee that people listening, maybe they've been even pathway members for a bit and say they haven't been diligent or they've fallen off the horse. I do it all the time. I go in and out of the work. But I can guarantee if you're not seeing results right now, you haven't had a daily practice like that. You haven't had at least multi-days in the week practice like that. There's no way, because if you're steadfast on that and you're expanding and you're passing tests, you're manifesting.
Tip 9 is from Dr. Tara Swart and is all about the power of taking aligned action in order to connect with our manifestations.
Self-knowledge is key. Understanding and honoring the cycles and rhythms of your own mind and body, I think, is a very good place to start, because there are times where I've just manifested 1, 2, or 3 things and I feel like the most magnetic person on the planet. And that's a great place to move forward from without being afraid. And then there are times where I feel demotivated and I procrastinate and I'm, not manifesting anything. And what's really helped me is understanding that whether it's because I'm tired or it's hormones or I've been triggered by something in the real world, that there's a time and a place where you can really go for it and, sort of feel like you can run through any obstacle. And there's a time, like I said, for various reasons and across various personality types, that you might need to retreat and recharge. And the more you understand the state that you're in mentally, physically, emotionally, everything, the more you can make both good decisions about when you can charge forward and really go for it like that, and also when you need to be kind to yourself and say, okay, this probably isn't a time that I'm going to achieve the best result if I now just like run forward and jump off a cliff. So maybe it's a good idea for me to go back, do some reprogramming, do the unblocked DIs, and just, allow that to really flourish in my brain and then start again. And so in the journal prompts, we're bringing the raised awareness. And in each DI, we're bringing it to a core wound and how that's playing out in your life. And then during the DI, we're giving it focused attention in the subconscious and helping to heal whilst also implanting an empowering belief. And then taking that into real life, you'll put the new belief into deliberate practice by taking action in alignment with your true self and not in alignment with the old belief. Or at the very least, noticing when you are defaulting to the old belief and just using that as data to move forward with more deliberate practice in true alignment. And, I'm really strong on writing in your journal, but also reading back over it with the community, with friends, with an accountability partner. You can be held accountable and hold yourself accountable to maintaining this new way of being, which then further strengthens the neural pathway. If you know yourself, you can do this work and get a lot out of it. If you haven't quite got there yet, then yes, it might be harder. But I still feel like, working on inducing positive changes in your brain through hypnosis and neuroplasticity is always going to make you feel better and more in charge of your life than if you don't do those things. Sometimes it's about baby steps. Sometimes it's definitely much bigger things, but it's okay if it's baby steps. And what I like to call doing experiments. So, when you're feeling stronger and you're going to do something quite bold or take a risk, think of it as an experiment so that even if it doesn't work out how you might really ideally want it to, that you will at least learn something from it. And then you can journal that. And then that's something that you can look back and read later and see what happened, what happens when you try various experiments. As a neuroscientist who specializes in neuroplasticity, of course, a really driving belief for me is we can always be better.
Tip 10 is from Lacy, and it is about not being a toe dipper with this work. The people who see the most results, the fastest, and the most magically and kismet are the people who really commit and show up for themselves. Because when you're showing up for yourself, you're communicating that high level of self-worth.
I don't actually see that often in people. Do you? That they have one residual thing that's hard over and over again, no matter how much they progress in manifestation.
I see that there's one that they're less likely to do than the others. They might be loving taking the aligned action, loving finding expanders, but they will not sit down and do a DI. Or they'll do a DI and they'll kind of find expanders. They'll take action, but they are not having that aha moment with the expansion. And you made it so clear in the How to Manifest episode, but that moment of, oh, if they can have it, I can have it, or, oh, I can totally do this. That needs to click. That's the feeling of being expanded.
Yeah, to actually be expanded.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're talking about is what I call toe dippers. You're just dipping into parts. A lot of stuff will happen to them. So they're like, okay, I'm going to go now and block. I'm sick of all this recurring thing happening. And then I'm going to sort of expand and then I'm going to fall off the work and it doesn't matter anymore because I'm good at manifesting these little things and stuff. So I think that's the difference of what we're talking about. You can only lead the horse to the water, to really experience the true flow and really having the life you want. You have to master a process to make it your own. At least this challenge is a really good playground to show you what it's like to not toe dip if you really do it and engage.
That really is the biggest thing. And I said to all my friends joining, I was like, if you literally do every single day, don't just say yeah, I know the steps. I'm going to skip this video or skip reading this section. I just want to go into the action.
That's toe dipping.
Yes. If you really sit down and take each day and each section through the challenge, and you can join late, you can do it at any time. You could do it into January. You could extend it out, whatever you got to do. The timeline doesn't matter. What matters is if you actually take each of the steps in the challenge, 100% you will be manifesting without a doubt. There's nothing else to it. So it's just, you got to just do it. You got to commit. Yeah. You got to know that you're worth it to put in that effort.
When you really start to manifest really kismet big things, then you become kind of like addicted to it. You're like, oh, this is, wow, I want to, like, how do I harness this energy a lot and more often? But I think if one hasn't had that full experience, then they're like, it's just another thing I'm touching into. So I'm motivated by wanting things in life. That's my main motivation, or else I'd be extremely lazy in this. And also I'm motivated by when a lot of unwanted things are happening. How do I get out of that? So those are my two motivations. So I think someone getting clear on what you're motivated by, like, why are you here? It's going to help you ground into it. It's really like based on motivation. Why are you here and what are you wanting? So if you're toe dipping here and there, whatever, man, that's why you have a year membership, to really see a manifestation really happen. That's why we like make people have to really engage for that amount of time. Again, I'm so motivated by results.
It's really putting in that internal effort and giving licensing to anyone out there. If you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, I do it. But really think, do you really put all your effort in? Are you actually sitting down and doing the work? Are you showing up for yourself? Really take inventory of that, because I think it's easy to think we are when we intellectualize things, but we need to feel them and process them to actually shift the neural pathway. Tip 11 is from TBM coach Salwa again, and it's about continuing to show up for yourself even without the proof of the manifestation, not relying on the manifestation to have a power over us, but being our own powerful source.
Today's manifestation tip is a helpful reframe when you find yourself feeling very resentful and angry that your manifestation hasn't come through. You know, that feeling where you're doing all the right things and you're just thinking, why the hell isn't my partner here? Why isn't my home here? Why isn't my next job here? Why am I not still financially thriving? When we're manifesting, it can really turn into holding our breaths until that manifestation comes. But what if for right now, as you continue to do what is within your control, you choose to embrace your current reality from the lens of your new patterning, to allow your internal shifts to be your current reward, to live as your highest self, even if you don't see the very specific proof that you're probably grasping for that affirms that your manifestation is actually hovering over you. I see clients become very bitter, which leads them to force and try harder. And then they get upset because they believe the universe is deliberately withholding their joy. That is not true. It's not true unless you decide that it is. But when we are trying to race to the end and practically throwing a tantrum because what we want isn't here yet, that's typically a huge indicator that we're operating from ego and fear. So instead, what if we ask, how can I live a little bit more today? How can this new high self-worth version of me take the stage? And this is not to be mistaken for pretending that you don't want the partner, that you don't want a new home, that you don't want to feel more free or have more money in your life. Please continue declaring and going toward what you want. But remember that life is now. So if you are trying to hate your life into perfection or using self-rejection as a motivator to become something different, or that is your reason to manifest, please pause, breathe, and check in with what you do have control over, unblocking, expanding, and aligned action. And remember, every day you get to choose how you show up for yourself. You can still be powerful in your current day-to-day, not just when your manifestation comes. I think sometimes the biggest test of all can be allowing ourselves to pour into our present moments instead of hoping our manifestation will make everything better. And you're here. You manifested TBM. You manifested the tools to remind you who you authentically are and to create intimacy with what your soul truly desires in this life. And just remember, as you are in this process of manifestation, try not to see everything that you have right now as inferior. Best of luck.
And tip 12 is from Lacy and I, all around how personalizing this work, understanding what works for you in a very unique way, is actually going to be your key to unlocking the next step in your manifestation process. So I think in terms of directing people to some big heavy hitting tips, if you've already gone through the work, you understand it, you're like, okay, I'm ready to really personalize it, make it my own, learn the energetics. One spot I would definitely direct you to if you want to learn more in that is we had a series on here called Everyday Energetics, and we went through the blocks that people were going through and gave very clear protocols and RXs of how to navigate that. I would also say go through supporteds, because when you're hearing coaches and Lacy and I answer those questions, that really shows, okay, here are the nuances in the energetics and how maybe someone calling in a partner in question 1, the remedy is different based off of their blocks than in question 3 in the episode or whatever it may be. So I would start looking through those sections. What about you, Lacy? Where would you send people, or which energetics do you think are important to look at next?
I really think the way to personalize your work is learn it like the back of your hand. And then you can start to toss away what you don't feel is the exact process that works for you and start to find your own and reading your own energetics. And one tip that I always like to revert back to, we can link it below, is the very first process episode we had with Heather Whitaker, our coach. And one of the things that worked really well for her, it would never work for me ever, is in DIs, instead of always doing them, like hypnosis based, meaning lying down with your eyes covered, etc., she would walk on hikes and listen to them and then talk through the prompts to her, like aloud to herself. And I went, that is such a killer way of personalizing this work. And it's beautiful to hear one person who went, I'm going to learn this work like the back of my hand, and then I'm going to tap into how it works for me. And when I say learn it like the back of your hand, it's learning all of the extracurricular things as well. And then make it your own. Personalize. Maybe doing it in the morning is the most beneficial for you. Maybe hopping on with your accountability partner and talking through the stuff that's coming up is way more effective for you than journaling. Make it your own. But in order to do so, you have to kind of master it a little bit. And it doesn't take that long. It's pretty simple. You just have to put in the work to truly learn it and work it. So yes, looking at those everyday energetic episodes are fantastic. I personally think Supported is a gold mine for finding any extracurricular energetic teachings, period. And you're going to start to put this all together to where it becomes the back of your hand. So at that point, revisiting your authentic code, calling in your list, and looking at whatever shadows and inner child blocks are coming up around that list or where you lack expanders. Once you have that all down, and then just start to look at what's coming up in your life, because what's coming up in your life are the patterns. It's the universe dancing with you and showing you where you're still not expanded enough, or you're not unblocked enough, or you're manifesting what you want.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did and we did at To Be Magnetic. So this week in the challenge was all about expansion. And one thing that Lacy and I talked about a lot on the How to Manifest episode, we talked about it on our live call from last week on day 5. The coaches talk a little bit about it on their live call as well on day 9. Is really about this aha moment of expansion. This moment when we can really truly see to believe that there is space for us to do this thing. It is possible for us to do this thing. And the metaphor that Lacy has shared, and I like to share, that really paints a picture of what expansion looks like and feels like. If you think about a plane circling a runway, it needs a runway for it to land on. So envision the plane as your manifestation, and the runway is your subconscious belief that it's possible. So if you are expanded, you have a large runway, plenty of space for your manifestation to come through and land on the runway. When you're not expanded, there is no runway. There's nothing for it to land on. So even if you aren't blocking it away, even if you're unblocked and it's coming in within orbit, it really can't land. So it's so important to get expansion from so many different things out there in the world and to utilize all the fragment expanders you may already have around you. Seeing the world through the lens of expansion, everything is a possibility to get expanded by. And the main way that you're going to know when you have really, really, really expanded is having that aha moment. It's almost like something clicks in the brain and you're like, oh my gosh, wait, I can do that? Or that's possible. That person did it. A lot of times for me, it's self-expansion. It's seeing other people do it. And then at some point, I'm like, wait, I know I can do that. I know that's possible for me. And something happens where that runway just opens up and the manifestation is able to then land there. So really think about that. Think about that aha moment. Think about the feeling of when you have had an aha moment before. Take note of what that aha moment feels like in your body, in your mind. That is the click piece when you are expanding. Next week, we're going to dive all into unblocking. I'm so excited for that. It's one of my favorite things. It really is a thing that shifts so much in the subconscious. And we're excited to see what comes up for you in the challenge. Don't forget, we still have our sale going on. It's not too late to join. You can start at any time and lock in the lowest rate of the season and join the Manifestation Challenge.